Hello, I've got another card today which we're doing everything on trend, and we know that layering of shapes, and in this instance circles, is very on trend at the moment. So in the course of trying out this card, I did some, if you like, tester cards. This is one of the ones I did, and what I was trying to do was to get the colours to flow. I have to say that working out what I needed in terms of, for each, so for example in this instance we've got a big Coastal Cabana, or yeah, it's Coastal Cabana circle, so you've got enough circles to make 2 cards. I just found it a bit hard to put together, and actually what I decided was it doesn't showcase the colours in the way I really wanted it to. So instead of this card, but also it gives you a bit of a suggestion of what you might be able to do if you just want to start off with a simpler card, I'm doing a card which showcases all the colours. Hooray! So I have to say this little card makes my heart sing because it's all the colours I could possibly love, plus some glimmer paper and some real contrasting things. So this is what I'm going to show you how to make today. It is really straightforward, and the way you make it, you'll have enough colour bits to do 2 cards, so it's a bonus card as well. So what I started by doing was selecting the circle sizes I wanted. And as you can see, my circles don't always, sometimes there's slightly bigger gaps between some of the colours and others. So I used you can either use the layering circle dies, or you could use the stitched circles if you wanted a bit of texture on the edges, or I used punches. So actually I did a very quick series of punching things out. Now obviously when you're punching them out, you'll punch it out as a whole circle. So there we go, there's my little Daffodil Delight circle. But as you can see, in order to make the card, we actually only need half a circle. So as I say, for each circle you punch out, you'll have 2, and you'll be able to make more than 1 card because of having enough bits of card to go around with it. So what I'm just going to show you, so a few little tricks. It is relatively straightforward and easy, but it is a real card that packs a punch. And obviously, because we're going to be using the playful alphabet dies to make the lettering, you could either make it a personal, you could put somebody's name on there, you could put whatever message you like. It's a really lovely card from that sense. There are a couple of little tricks though, so I'm just going to talk it all through with you so you know exactly how to do it. Let me just put that to one side there. So, as you can see, I've got a Whisper White card base, straightforward, and then I've used a white Whisper White top. Now, as you all saw from my earlier example, I did another one where I'd got, in this case it's Bermuda Bay base, and I'd used an embossing folder to get a bit of texture on it. However, for this one, because I really wanted the colours to shout for their own sake, I've just done it on Whisper White, but it gives you an opportunity to look at what the variety could be and how you could change things around. So those are my base parts. So before I go any further, the next thing to do is to layer up the circles. So I have prepared my circles ready. So I've got 2 piles of circles. I am going to be very boring and go through both the sizes of the circles and the colours. So in order for the circles to work in the way I have on the card, I've got circles, and I'll do it in inches because I know most of you prefer it that way. It's 2.5 inch circles, which is the big one. So in this instance, the real red, I have to say it's Blueberry Bushel, which is an old in colour, but I love Blueberry Bushel. Then I've got a 2 inch circle, which will be the Melon Mambo and the Bermuda Bay. Then I've got a 1.5 inch circle, Powder Pink and Pool Party. A 1 inch circle, which in this instance is Mango Medley and Call Me Clover, another in colour which went out last year, but I have to say I still really like it. It's a good green. And then a final 3/4 inch Daffodil Delight and Granny Apple Green. And that's how the colours go. But clearly you can make up whatever, you can use up colours you've got. You could look in your scraps bag and find out. The only ones you probably need quite a bit of coloured cardstock for are the 2.5 inch circles. But as I say, once you've punched out 1 circle or cut out with a die a 2.5 inch circle, you've got enough then for 2 cards. So having got the circles, here we are, here's a spare 3/4 inch Daffodil Delight. I literally just cut them in half, okay? And it doesn't matter, because of the way we're going to put it together, if it's not an exact, if the measurements are slightly out, because the way we've constructed the card means, as you can see, the edges are hidden. Okay, so next step will be to glue the colours together. So this is going to be a fairly tedious process. I'm just going to notice that's got a bit of a rough edge. I'm just going to trim that slightly. There we go. So I'm hoping we'll be speeding up through this so you don't have to sit and watch the very boring watching me gluing loads of half circles together, because it really is not the most exciting thing to be doing on your morning. But basically, you just take your colour and then you're going to position it always corners matching on the left hand side, okay? So line up the edges as much best you can, doesn't matter if they're not completely lined up, and putting it into the left hand side. So you're going to end up, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. So you'll end up with 2 sets. There we are. So you will have 2 semicircles with the colours on like that. So they just need to go to one side. The next thing I'm just going to do before we get too far is introduce you to the lovely, lovely playful alphabet dies. So in this instance, I'm doing a hello. And the thing about the alphabet dies is they're all about 3/4 of an inch, which makes it really good. So a 1 inch deep or 1 inch deep wide piece of card is brilliant for how you're going to do your letters. So now I'm at Squirrel 2's house and she's set the space unit up so I can come and do the little videos. And of course I've got inches showing, which I don't really do inches very often. So I'm just going to lay my lettering out so I can understand where it goes. I should have made one of these earlier, really. Because as you can see, for example, with the L's, they're much narrower than the O's. So you just want to think about positioning in terms of, don't position your letters right at the edges or it'll just, the word looks a bit weird. Well, you might like it, I don't know. So in this instance, I'm also using glimmer paper, but we've got lots of foil sheets, lovely, beautiful copper foil sheets, or the champagne foil sheets would work really well. What you're looking for is a contrast with the black. This is an old diamond ice glimmer paper, which has just got a real sort of sheen to it. I don't know if that will show up particularly well if I bring it up here. No, all you do is get a close-up on my fingers and that's not the most attractive. So again, I'm just using a bit of Tombow glue because you can wiggle it around, thankfully, because what you want to do is make sure, so for example, with things like the H and the E, there are definite up and down bits. Right, there's the H. And I'm then going to go to the other end and just pop the O on, just so I can see, I know what the middle space is that I'm then going to fill with the other letters. And again with the O, you can either do it that way or that way. In this instance, I'm going to go that way. And what I'm looking for is to make sure roughly the edge of the black and the start of the letter are roughly the same. Roughly, because at the end of the day, you could measure it all and measure your letters, but I think life's a bit short for that. So there we go, there's my hello. Now, what we need to do in order to put it all together is we're not going to, you want to give yourself a bit of space. So on the card, this is your card topper, you want to have the space to manoeuvre your thing so you can hide the edges underneath. So in order to do that, I'm going to take some mini, these are the mini dimensionals. So I'm going to put them in the middle. And it's quite important that they are in the middle because actually that's how you're going to be able to manoeuvre things around. A few more than normal. Or sometimes if you're using the bigger dimensionals, you can end up with a strip of dimensionals. And it could be that you just use that strip along the middle because that would still give you the desired effect. What you want to be able to do is have a space at the edges in which to tuck under the semicircles. That way you can hide whatever's going on underneath it. So let me get those off now. in terms of positioning. Let me move those mini dots. There's my card. Now, you could put it absolutely in the middle, but in this instance I'm not. I'm going to do it up slightly, so mine is slightly off centre deliberately. And there we go. So, and then just pop everything down, push it all down firmly so it's all in place. There's my hello. Now, what you'll find is you're going to be able to slip your, try them first. You're going to be able to slip your semicircles. Make sure you've lifted it up enough so it can go underneath the last one. Whoops, what have I got on there? Piece of fluff, piece of glue. Sorry, I've got rather gluey fingers. And then you can just have a wiggle around. So you can decide how much you wanted the card showing. You could push them further in or come out a bit, depending on how much of the semicircle. What you want to do is try and make sure they're about the same on both sides. And if you can, so you've got in this instance the melon mambo, you could, if you prefer, go for a complete circle. There we go, there's the circle version, which I think, but I prefer them to be offset, so I'm going to go back to those. So, and finally, turn your topper over. I've got some large dimensionals which I'm just going to put on the corner. And then finally take your Whisper White base, make sure it opens the right way, and then just pop on your topper. There we go. And there we go. There are a pair of fun hello cards using the swirly circles. Thank you very much.